Hey guys, Matty Stunts here, and we're at a place I like to call Star Wars. Today we're going to be running through basically the proxy flip, the knife edge proxy flip, and also the one where you flip forwards over the object and then you come back through reverse. My goal here with these tutorials are basically just to have the community doing more of the stuff that I do and just understanding the tricks that I do. I would love nothing more than to see other pilots putting their little twist or just their little stamp on it.
But before we get up there, I highly suggest getting here, the flight sim. For any of these tricks that you guys are learning, okay, I highly suggest you learn it on a tree that's not nearly as high as you see me doing them on in the video. There's a very high possibility that you're going to be getting stuck in a tree. So if you don't have one of these, or one of these,
one more, boys.
You're probably going to want to do it on a tree that is a tree or a bush that's not too tall, okay? I don't want to see anyone getting their stuff stuck in a tree or getting lost in a tree and then being discouraged by that, okay? Well, let's start with a proxy flip. So proxy flip's pretty much like a power loop. If anyone knows what power loop is, that's pretty much a power loop, okay? A proxy flip, in my eyes, is something where you're flipping over the object and you keep that object in frame the whole time, okay? Makes it a little bit more risky, but obviously it just makes it look better when you keep the object you're flipping in frame. So the only time you're really going to get in trouble with this trick if you stall in the middle there. So watch, I'll simulate a stall. You just didn't get enough momentum coming back and you come on top of the trees. The way to combat that is just to pull up. Watch. Just pull up and fly away, okay? It's not worth getting stuck in the tree. Just bail if you think you have to bail, okay? So next is the knife edge proxy flip. This one, if you're doing the knife edge on this side, you're going to want to watch this tree right here, okay? This tree. So watch. Get into the knife edge. And you're going to want to just keep on trying to point yourself into that tree. And the way that this is working is you're using pitch up to point yourself into that tree. And this is obviously going to work a little bit better if you have a really high, or not really high, but just a high camera angle tilt. If you just do that motion in your hand and watch what the quad does when you're just, you can kind of see what's happening. You're still producing lift when your camera is on your side here. Your camera might look like it's on the side, but your quad is actually producing lift still. So let's get to the next one. So this is the front flip through the trees and then reverse back to the object. Some people call it the Matty flip. I call it the Matty flip. I don't really know what else to call it. So this is basically the best way to learn this trick. Come through your object and reverse through it, okay? And just keep on doing this motion a bunch of times and get used to getting your quad thrusting back into that direction, right? Obviously I'm going to do this really exaggerated, but just get it to pull yourself back through. Because when you do this a bunch of times, okay, once you start that front flip and you just get back into that position, you're going to be used to you're going to be used to knowing what to look for, okay? I did this with my buddy Eric, and he basically learned them in real world within, like, you know, I think it was maybe 10 tries. So obviously you can do it in, let's find a smaller hole to do it in. That's what she said. Let's see this one. I mean, you can get to the point where you're doing them through smaller holes, right? But start on big openings, you know, maybe don't do them where there's a bunch of tree trunks where you can run into the tree trunk, right? All these tricks, they just take time on the sticks, and time in the sim. I'm telling you, if you just get this sim and you learn these movements, once you go into the real world, it's pretty much the same thing. Okay, guys. So I mean, camera angle really does help, but if you're running like 40 degrees with a really wide angle FPV camera lens, my co-pilots actually, Luke Bannister, Zach Thayer, and Jordan Temkin, they actually do this, and they can run with a little bit less tilt than I do, and still achieve these tricks. So it does help, but you don't need to have that crazy angle. I just like the crazy angle. I like the speed that it gives me in my flying, and at the same time, I just think there's way more benefits to having extreme camera angle than it is to have little camera angle. One of the biggest things is using my yaw and my throttle. So obviously you can see if I'm going around this tree or this tree, my big inputs are pitch, and I'm kind of just leaning on my yaw. I'm sure you could tune this out in CleanFlight or whatever you're using for quick controller, but I just like the tilt. It just works for me. You can also add exits to these tricks. So, for instance, this is a proxy flip with an alley-oop. That's what I call it. So I come up and I flip myself back like that. If you follow my flying, you know that I like doing that trick. Same with if you do the Matty flip. Come back, flip myself up. There's so many different combinations you can do. Like, you know, you can go through it knife edge like that. You can come around proxy flip, into Matty flip. So play around with it. This is the time to do it. If you're in the sim and you're doing sim work, this is the time to play and crash and just get creative with it. And this is, I spent like a good month straight where I was spending like 6 to 8 hour days in the winter time and just letting the creative juice flow over the winter time. And this is kind of where you saw my huge progression in learning different tricks and just kind of developing my style. Now we're going to combine all those tricks together. You have to bear with me. This is kind of a lot of feel for me. If I know which way the camera is going or just which way my FPV camera's pointing, I just kind of know what's happening. So I like calling these pirouette proxy flips. So you're basically combining all the different accents and you're going around the object. This single one maneuver is what really got me to the point where I could be in any orientation, the quad could be in any orientation, and I knew exactly what it was going to do. And it's kind of really what helped me develop my style. So I'm going to leave that one to you. I may go into it more in a different tutorial, but it's one of those things where you can't really teach it. You just have to go and do it and feel it and just know how the quad's going to react and just let your fingers do the magic, you know.
these tricks won't come naturally. You have to work at it. If they do come naturally, I mean, that's great. But I really did put a lot of time into learning these tricks and spent hours and hours and hours mastering the littlest movements. So just keep at it. Play the sim. You will get way more flight time if you play an hour of the sim than if you go to the field and fly your mini quad for an hour. I'm not saying don't do both. You should still do both, but fly the sim as much as possible. I'm sure you guys have heard me say this analogy before, but I once had a guitar teacher, a jazz guitar teacher, that said, technique is freedom. You cannot express yourself in your freestyle world, in the mini quad world, if your fingers can't keep up to your brain and what your brain wants to express. So just practice, practice, practice. Looks like through the goggles, okay, with some hand movements. So let's start with the proxy flip. Okay. Now we're going to do a knife edge proxy flip. Go into a proxy flip. Go into the other axis on the knife edge. Go into the Matty flip. Now you can get creative with this stuff, right? Like, you don't just have to do the 4-axis, right? You can go into this front flip, you know, spot your landing, come back into it. Matty flip. Now let's see if I can do this flying pinching and get you guys some.
Minus 46 seconds.
It's a little more sketchy for me,
Minus
pinching, obviously, because I don't pinch.
1 second.
Well, I hope you guys liked the tutorial. I'm going to be releasing a couple more of these with just some things that just need to be explained. And if you just like and share, if you like what you see, just ate a fly. Or then to see other sakes.